So hi all, welcome to this month's talk on social media and how many times you post and what platforms you post on. Let me do, since there's a couple new faces here, I'd like to just go really quick round robin a little bit. I'll call on you and see if you could just give us just a little brief intro about yourself. And if you can, please show your video so we can see your face. And let me see, I'll start with Jonathan since he was first. You just tell us a little bit of where you're located and what you do.
Okay, yeah, Glastonbury, just outside of Hartford. I design books, interiors, mostly covers. Been doing that for the last 20 some odd years. Yeah, I moved to Connecticut, I don't know, 6 years ago, I guess. Before that, I was in New York and Boston working at publishers there.
Great. Brian?
So I've been running a 3D architectural rendering company since 2006. And as some of you may already know, there's a lot changing in the design field with artificial intelligence. So I have decided to work on developing two web apps that are going to concentrate on building generative designs, AI generative designs to create some of these interiors and exteriors for the public and for these different fields from my knowledge that I have.
Great, thank you. Jane?
Good afternoon, I'm Jane, and the name of my business is called Freckle Jane Inc., given to me by my husband. And we are a graphic design consultancy, and we specialize in premium stationery, and we're located in Westport.
Great. If I'm saying this correct, Devani? There you go. Did I say that correctly?
It's Devon.
Okay.
Yeah, or Vaughn. Honestly, Vaughn is simpler.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'm actually a new artist. So I've actually changed careers not too long ago, like a few months back. I was previously a web developer, and so I've kind of transitioned into more of a freelance artist, concept artist. So that's the direction I'm kind of going now. So, really looking to learn a lot more and just working on a lot more projects, a lot more ideas are coming. So it's also great.
Where are you
Oh,
located?
sorry. I'm in Waldorf, Maryland, like Southern Maryland.
Okay, great. All right, Shayla, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Shayla and I'm a fourth year student at Southern Connecticut State University studying graphic design. I currently want to get into like motion design and illustration, but right now I'm also an intern at AIGA CT, so I do a lot of social media stuff. So this seems to be really helpful. And I'm currently in Waterbury.
Great. And Lindy.
Hi, Janine. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I am Lindy Bostrom. I'm in Pasadena, California, which is in LA County. And I design honest brands for health and wellness and sustainable businesses. So that can encompass a lot of things from website design to general graphic design, print work. I do some illustration. So a bunch of different things, but it all falls under the umbrella of branding. So that's what I do.
Great, welcome. And PJ.
Hi, my name is Patrick. PJ is basically a nickname. I haven't changed my Zoom ID. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Zoom is difficult. But yeah, I'm a freelance writer. I specialize in marketing, content marketing specifically, and I usually help B2B businesses.
Great, well, welcome. And did I hear where you were located?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mention that. I'm from Toronto.
Toronto. Oh, great. Fantastic.
I would say since we have new people, should we introduce ourselves too? Is that?
Yep, I was just about to do that. Nancy, did you want to post the, was there a poll you wanted to post in the chat?
Yep.
Okay, so I will give an intro while there's a poll that's there. So my name is Janine Papolino. My business is called Intrex Design. I reside in upstate New York between Albany and Syracuse. I focus on small businesses, higher education, and nonprofits. So I do everything from brand identity, websites, and basically any collateral material, newsletters, and social media graphics. And I'll turn.
I am Nancy Russo. I run the Creatives Roundtable as a side business. I do small group coaching, and we have accountability groups. We have a very active Slack channel where people post a lot about work and movies and the colors of their office walls and anything else that they're interested in. And I also run a graphic design business. I'm in year 37 of that. Before that, I worked in the advertising department of a few publications. I do primarily document design, branding, and ads. And I live somewhere near Jane, although we have never met. We're in the same town. And down the street from me is Amy Gorick, who I'm going to let introduce herself next.
Hi. We were just saying who we are and where we're from and what we do.
Yep.
My name is Amy Gorick. I live in Norwalk, Connecticut, and I'm a designer. Sorry, I'm a bit like, what do I do? Graphic design. I've been working for myself since 2007. I do branding and packaging for specialty food and gifts and more. So great to see everyone.
And last but not least, Linda, you want to just give a quick intro on where you're located?
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm located near Princeton, New Jersey, and I do graphic design for conferences and trade shows. I'm strictly B2B.
Great. So as many of you see, Nancy posted a poll that was taken earlier. And the results of the poll were most people were engaged in LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok. So with that being said, Pinterest didn't get anything. Wow. Okay. So with that being said, let's jump into this topic. So how many of you frequently, how frequently do you post, and what is your platform of choice? And just feel free to just jump in as a part of the discussion. Well, I'll go first. I do LinkedIn quite a bit. And I actually will tell you, I'm struggling a little bit because I've always heard that you should post on post in the article, but then some other designers were posting in the post section. And now I heard that there's a newsletter section that you can post on LinkedIn. So if you have a newsletter and want to share that, and I'm trying to figure out which way is best. That's one of the things I'm struggling with social media. I don't know if anyone has any experience in that, but I do mostly LinkedIn. Go ahead, Nancy.
So the LinkedIn newsletter, which is now, I think, available for everyone. What's really cool about it is the first time that you actually send it out, it sends it to every single contact that you have and invites them to participate in it. And, they either do or they don't, but then you decide your frequency, whether it's once a week, once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is. You cannot design it. It is just using their formatting. And so, it's just another way to get things out there. What a lot of people are doing, I think, based on an interview that Elise Bennon did with someone else, was posting an older newsletter that you might send through your regular channels, and then saying, this is an older issue. If you'd like to read the latest, please get on our list. So that's what I know about the LinkedIn newsletter.
So I know you started posting just in the post section, right? You would just kind of post a part of your article and then have it jump to your blog. Is that correct?
Yeah, LinkedIn doesn't like when you jump things, but yes, I was doing that.
So are you going to do it this new way now?
I have a LinkedIn newsletter. I've only posted it once.
Oh, okay.
Just
I thought it was something new. I may be catching.
Well, no, I mean, what they did was they did a slow release, they drip releases out to people. Yeah, so I got it pretty early. I did one and then I haven't revisited it because I'm just doing too much.
Sure, I understand. Anybody else doing that at all? Have they taken advantage of the newsletter for LinkedIn? No. Instagram. Some of you guys are on Instagram. Who's on Instagram? Amy, you're on Instagram. Jane, you're on it. Some of you guys are. Okay. So, Amy, let's start with you. What do you post? How frequently? And what kind of response are you getting?
Well, so I have 2 Instagrams now, one for my artwork and one for design. And the artwork one has gotten more followers because, well, it was my original one that was personal. But then when I started posting the art, I think because of the hashtags and the creative challenge I was in, it just got a lot of traction and sort of became its own thing. And for that one, I probably am more active on it. During the February challenge, I did a post a day, which was a lot. But then when you post a lot, you get followers, but then you're also like sinking your time into it too. Which is a double-edged sword with social media, I think. I think the magical thing, if you can master it, is to post and then leave it alone until you have like a block of time set later to, whatever, answer messages or whatever. So I have my art one, which is just my name, Amy Gorick. And then I have a design one that I just recently started. And I'm trying to be better about posting to that more, so I could have a place for my design work besides my website. So I'm kind of trying to like figure that one out a little bit, and I have to just be better about posting stuff there.
Great. I believe Jane, you used Instagram. Tell us about how you use it.
So I haven't officially launched on, I have launched on social media. I have a wonderful millennial that will be helping me out, but we haven't done the official launch for the business yet. But our plan is to use Instagram probably 2 to 3 times a week. That's like our marketing plan right now.
Okay.
To post 2 to 3 times a week. But despite not having content, I am noticing that I am getting followers. And I've just put, my logo and the fact that I'm doing graphic design. So I can't wait to start adding content.
Can you put your link in the chat? I put Amy's 2 links in there for people.
Yeah,
when you have your Instagram links, if you're.
And Shayla, I believe you were using Instagram. How do you use it?
So I use Instagram for, I forgot to mention, I also do the social media for Southern Connecticut State University's art and design department. So so I do the Instagram for that and for AIGACT. And I try to post basically like every day for the Southern one. And right now, reels, videos, they really matter. So what I do, like I try to do a lot more videos of like showing everyone's artwork, maybe even some like cool little like camera angles and stuff and other animations. So that's what I
Great.
do.
Cool. Nancy was kind enough to post the survey about which platforms, and it seems like most people post on the native platforms. Does anybody use any of the outside like Hootsuite or any of those other? Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I use Recur Post, and I use it because it brings my blogs in natively from my website, and then it posts them wherever it posts. I post to LinkedIn, Twitter. In my mind, it gets traction, but it doesn't. Instagram and LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, that's about it. So I really like Recur Post. I could set it up a lot way in advance. Like Shayla, I'm posting for multiple platforms, and honestly, I have a VA who does the posting for me. I don't do it, but I'm able to have 2 Instagram accounts and 2 Twitter accounts and 2 of everything. which I haven't found in a lot of the other platforms that are the same price point. I'm paying $390 a year for these two platforms of everything. And they just added YouTube posting as well, which I'll post the YouTube videos that we do for Creators Roundtable. So, you know, they're expensive. I used to use Buffer, and the Buffer one, there's a free version, which is really great. And what I love about all of this is that you can post ahead of time. I'm all about doing things that don't take up my time during the day. So that's what
And
I.
that parlays into one of the questions I had. I mean, like many of you, I post on the native platform. I'm always wondering whether some of these outside resources just make things a lot faster. I mean, for me, I'd probably post very similar content. So I don't know if it's better to post similar content or have something different so everything is a little bit more inviting if the content's different. Anybody have thoughts on that?
I personally use Twitter for more kind of like research and things I'm figuring out, whereas I'll use LinkedIn as more kind of case studies, things that have been thought proven and more kind of understood in the general business community itself. So I think I use a different platform for different reasons based upon the audience that is more interested in those areas.
Great. Lindy.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. I think that different platforms are meant for different audiences, and particularly LinkedIn it's B2B. It's clearly B2B. And so I might not post the same thing to Facebook, say, although LinkedIn really is my main platform. I've used Buffer. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used that. I used it for a client, and it can post to multiple platforms. So if you do have a post that you feel like it'll carry across, it certainly makes it easier than going on each individual platform and doing that over and over again. It's just, you know, it's a good solution among, I'm sure, quite a good number of them. But I think if you're posting regularly to multiple platforms and you don't have different messages, I think it's, you know, it behooves you to use something like that.
Right, right. So the majority of you post something a little different on each particular platform then? So the content is different when people see it. Is that my read on that? Yes, possibly. Go ahead, Nancy.
Sorry, I can talk about everything. I'm just like an oversharer. I actually, you know, because I have the two things, I have scheduled like for Russo Graphics, I post client work. So those are always different projects. I might post testimonials from my clients. And sometimes I post, you know, other things that have to do with work. For Creators Roundtable, I post inspirational quotes. I post the events that we're having. I post member highlights because all of the members of our group get to be highlighted. We were doing it once a month, but it's been very popular. So now we're doing it twice a month. So I try to, those are all things to drive people who view us to both our members and our platform. So it's not really mixed up. I mean, if I come across a really beautiful scene or flower or something like that, I also have a personal Instagram, which I don't, you know, share, but if I post something, find something, I might occasionally post it to all three platforms, but I try to keep within Russo Graphics or Creators Roundtable for those particular ones.
How many of you for your social media content use like a template that for your business, you have your logo on there and the content changes, but there's a small template where your business name is always out there as part of that posting? You do, Nancy, right? Anybody else?
I just did a post that sort of had a template, but I'm not going to use it for every post, I think, just like maybe the carousel ones for my design.
And I know because I follow Shayla's AIGA Connecticut, I know you do some templated posts.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always have to have the
You-
branding.
Do you find that with the branding or something that's of consistent branding, there is more of a following to something like that because they know who they're looking at with content regularly and a logo, or what's your feel on that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. I always see like whenever I post, it's like the same people that like it, engage with the comment. So yeah.
Great. How about some others that have joined us? What is your social media platform of choice? Feel free to unmute or you can raise your hand. Go ahead.
I usually use a combination of LinkedIn and Twitter, although Twitter's more of a, well, I wouldn't, it's much more informal, where when LinkedIn I'm talking about professional work, like writing, marketing stuff. But with Twitter, I try and use it to engage with other marketers, like interacting with them in a more relaxed environment, like trading jokes, things like that, where it's more of a getting to know them as people kind of thing. While LinkedIn, everybody's like clean and professional, and
So when
I
you
would
use Twitter that
uptight.
way, yeah, when you use Twitter that way and you're trying to engage with them on more of a personal level, do you find that you have a bigger response trying to be on a personal level versus a business level? I know they're two different platforms, but
Yeah. With Twitter, it's more, I get more of a response if I go like one-to-one. With LinkedIn, if a person responds to your comment, you just generally say thank you for the comment, or you respond, but it doesn't really turn into a conversation. But with Twitter, even if you're talking about like the rust on your bathtub or something, you can still keep a conversation going a lot more informally, and it flows a lot more naturally.
and it sounds like you respond to just about a lot of people that at least post something or respond to you. You make an effort to kind of make a response.
Yeah, and I try to stay away from responses that are rote, or that are, I like to keep it to responses where I can actually hold a conversation, not just responding for the sake of, like, oh, he's posted something, I'll just do something just so I'm visible. I try not to do that.
Right. Yeah, that's a good strategy. Anyone else want to chime in to what they're using?
I will.
Go
So
ahead.
I use LinkedIn. My small business development center here in New Jersey does give out free classes on strategies with LinkedIn. And I just finished a 6 week course with a woman named Lisa Kanda, who specializes in LinkedIn. And there's so much in LinkedIn, and there's so much you can do, and there's that algorithm, and and how to keep that going to get yourself to be more visible. I've tried other platforms. I find that they're not for me. Just because you have followers doesn't really mean anything. And I'm just curious about anybody who's putting in a lot of effort. Have any of those efforts translated into sales? Have they translated into money that's coming in? I tried Instagram. I really didn't like it. I was attracting a lot of stoners and weird people from Sweden. So it was very weird because I do a lot of cannabis design, and every stoner on the face of the earth just loves what I do, but doesn't have a pot to piss in to pay me for design. So I went back to LinkedIn, and I have, over 1,000 connections, and I keep growing it. But I don't spend a lot of time on social media for the simple fact that I'd rather spend time putting myself in front of the people who are going to pay me what it is that I'm asking for my design work. So I do expend a lot of time on that. But LinkedIn for now, it's an okay place to be, I guess.
Well,
I have a sorry. Go on.
go ahead. Go ahead,
I have a
Ben.
couple of stories about that. Not that it could translate to yours. I don't know your business or anything. It's just like things that I experienced. Where when story number one, I was on Twitter and I was engaging with this person. Her name is Asia, and she's a big name marketer in a specific industry, and so I engaged with her like a few times 6 months earlier, right? And then she put out a call for writers. And I'm one of the many dozens of people who responded, because as soon as you do that, people are going to flock to you like pigeons to a slice of bread, right? And so, but because I had responded to her before and intelligently and engaged her, she singled me out as someone she recognized, not because I was good, but because she knew me.
Nice.
And then
nice.
I got that
You make
job.
money from that? You did.
I made money from that. I got a pretty good 6 months gig out of that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then for LinkedIn, I again, it's the visibility, right? It's not necessarily demonstrating expertise. I dislike it might be a weakness on my social media strategy, but I dislike giving marketing tips, because everybody does that, and I feel like a fraud every time I try to do that, and I'm just telling everybody what everybody knows. And so I try to be a little bit more personal when I like give observations on something, or I comment on something that happened in the industry or something that happened to me personally. But as a consequence of that, I only post like once every 2 weeks. However, it's the recognition again, right? So because I was posting something like that, it encouraged someone on LinkedIn to go, oh, okay, yeah, I like the way this guy, like, he's interesting. And so he reached out to me, and we had a few projects together. It's nothing I can't control. I can't make a marketing plan out of that. Like, if I tried, I'd probably be living under the bridge right now, but it definitely helps.
Oh, that's great. Nancy, I think you had your hand up on how it worked for you.
Yeah, so as far as Twitter's concerned, what I've gotten out of there, because I also, like Patrick, I do comment on other people's things. There's a marketer that I'd really love to speak to the Creators Roundtable. I'm not going to name her name right now since we are recording this. But I have had some interactions with her where we've gone back and forth DMing. And there's someone from a company called Dobing Design in the UK. We've been commenting on each other's stuff and sharing things as well. So there are people. There's a person I met at a co-working space years ago who moved back to Australia and started this company called Llama Life, which I absolutely love. It's something that I use for my my personal accountability and getting work done. So we have conversations as well. I've shared her work, so it's benefited her and not necessarily me, but I believe in her product. So as far as Twitter's concerned, definitely things like that. I do a lot of retweeting on Twitter to share things that I think are important, and I might make a nice comment as well. For LinkedIn, I have gotten work from LinkedIn. I have conversations with people. I also do searches for people looking for specific things that I am offering, and I will comment. I do have a paid LinkedIn account, so I can go a little deeper in the lettering, the letters that I send out to people, or the notes. I've gotten several ongoing projects from there and ongoing clients. So I think Instagram for me is just a visibility more for Creators Roundtable more than Instagram. I'm sorry, more than Instagram's more for Creators Roundtable than it is for Russo Graphics. I'll still post on Russo Graphics because I feel like every designer should be on there, but I don't get any business whatsoever from it except people saying, post it on this platform, sell me here, you know, whatever that type of thing is. So, but I do enjoy looking at everybody's Instagram accounts. So, and liking, I go and I like them from Russo Graphics, and I go and I like them from Creators Roundtable. So that's me.
Anybody else got any work from it, or because they've built up relationships with people on these social media, they've gotten some sort of feedback from either their work or they got a job from it? Anybody else want to share that? Go ahead, Nancy.
I've gotten some leads from Instagram, one that turned into a project. And then for the art, I've gotten, you know, I had my work in a little show in New Haven, Connecticut in the fall. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I think it depends, who you work with and, where they are. I do work with smaller like food businesses, so I feel like they're on Instagram. And if I make sure I put like the right hashtags that maybe they would be looking for, then they find me that way for packaging. But a lot of, that was like just like a couple leads that I got. It's hard with the
Did
small
you
business because sometimes they just don't have the budgets, that my experience that I need to charge. But I think it's all where your clients are too.
did you feel you had to reach out to them several times to build that relationship before they trusted you with a project?
No. I feel like the two leads that I had, they reached out to me from things that they saw
Okay.
that resonated with them, like work projects. And maybe they had been following me. As far as like, I don't know, maybe we can talk about this too, like reaching out to people and, how to kind of court them. So you're not saying, oh, I'm a designer, I would love to work with you, like outright, like, just kind of following them and commenting, not necessarily like, I want to work with you. Just
Right.
like kind of like Nancy said on Twitter and PJ, just like conversing with them and building that rapport, but not like outright asking them,
Right.
It's kind of like a little bit of a courtship, I think, on LinkedIn and any social media, I think.
Right. Lindsay, you have your hand up. Lindy, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, and I agree with you, Amy, the interaction is really, I think, where the rubber meets the road in a lot of cases, where you have repeat conversations with people, so you build trust. But I also have gotten work from LinkedIn just by people finding me there and contacting me. It's not a lot, but it has happened a couple of times. I got one really good client who was with me for a number of years regularly. So I think the more you're active and the more you're doing things, posting, interacting, the more chance there are of having that visibility. And I think it's hard to say, well, I got in and I did this post and that's how I got this work. That's not how it works. It's kind of over and over again. And then, it's like timing is everything. So if somebody is looking for what I offer and I'm in front of them all of a sudden, then that comes together. But if I'm only going to post here and there, then good luck, That's the way I think about it.
Patrick.
Yeah, so just to ride on what Lindy said, like that's exactly right. LinkedIn is a search engine, basically. And so if you make your profile friendly towards that search engine, people are more likely to find you. I've had job offers and clients come to me on LinkedIn without seeing anything I post, just because I took a course, or maybe a course is like maybe a 1-day course, if you can call it that, and updated my LinkedIn profile based on the recommendations, and and because of that, I can show up more for things that I want to work in.
So specific keywords or things like that triggered somebody to find you.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know the course? Could you put it in the chat?
It's not around anymore. It was like 5 years ago. So, but there are lots of courses you can look for at Google. So,
do you have a couple quick tips that you can share that you learned?
Yeah. So, you see that description on the bottom, right under your name. There's a short description there, where the people used to say storyteller, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. So you put in the keywords there that you actually want to show up for. Also, you should customize your URL, because many people just leave their LinkedIn profile as is and don't mess with it, and so their profile has like Patrick 555725, but you can customize that.
Right. Right. And do you customize it obviously with your personal
Well,
name, or do you have one that you have for business?
just my personal name. Someone I know tried to do it for a business, but I think he got dinged by LinkedIn for being misleading, or something like that. They're pretty strict about rules, I think.
So
But
for
then,
any,
yeah, sorry, go on.
go ahead. I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, so other things that I can remember that I haven't are like filling out your job profile, filling out the skills, getting as many recommendations as possible from your peers. Recommendations help a lot if you have them from former clients. Um, and I think LinkedIn just implemented something like skills testing. I
I'm
haven't
going to
tried
ask you
it.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried it personally. People have been telling me to, but I've been too lazy. Because I opened the page to take one of those tests and it takes a while. It takes a while, and I got like really lazy. So
Has anybody used that feature? Have they gotten work from it because they have a specific skill set, Brian?
Yeah, so I've done a few of the skill sets. It's hard to say if I got work. I got engagement from it, but no, I don't know directly work, which is brings me up to my kind of the hardest point about all this, is that how people actually find you isn't exactly known. Meaning that you can post on, Twitter and LinkedIn, and then they kind of figure out there because you connected with them years ago, and then they go and do a search on your company, and then they find a blog that connects with them, and then all of a sudden, they you see what I mean? It's like not a direct result to it. So I could say it helps. I can't say it hurts. I can definitely say that it helps, and it also helps you understand where you're at in your journey, like how far you are in your skill set, because you could be thinking, oh, well, I'm never going to do well on this, and it turns out you're in the the top percentile for what you're doing, and it can be helpful for that validation.
For those of you that have gotten work from some of the social media, do you find that the people who are reaching out to you have looked at other social media accounts or researched you or looked at your website to kind of verify that they get to know you a little bit better? And when you talk to them, do they mention that at all? Go ahead, Nancy.
People have mentioned my website. They haven't mentioned my social media. And so they've mentioned specific things on my website that they saw or they read. So I've actually tried to mimic my my LinkedIn profile with my about page on my website, and that has been helpful. But literally, they just say, "Oh, I saw this on your website," and blah blah blah. If I ask how they found me, it's usually through Google. Occasionally, they'll say LinkedIn, and then they went to my website. But nowhere else do they go to my website except from LinkedIn. If I look at my my numbers, I do get people from LinkedIn, but I'm also posting my blog posts on LinkedIn from my website, so that drives people back.
Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm really curious, and one of the reasons why I attended this was to know about groups. Like, I'm really interested to know if there are specific groups in any of these social media platforms that anybody uses and engages in. For example, I know specific target audiences I'd like to get to, but I'm not sure if Facebook anymore, if their groups are really worth it or not, or if, Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever has available out there. I'd love to hear people's ideas.
Has anyone been into groups that got work from it or connected that way?
I just
I
find there are a
can,
lot of
sorry, go on.
spam. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just gonna
actually,
say,
I
I
can add.
noticed a lot of groups on LinkedIn lately. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of digging for them, but I noticed. I think they're more effective than Facebook.
Okay, Patrick, I'll go to you first.
It depends on the industry. Because like Nancy said, or was it Nancy who said that? Many of the groups are full of spam, and but there are a few that are run professionally that have actual community managers that are really good on Facebook. LinkedIn communities and groups, my information of that is outdated because I tried to join one like 5 years ago, and Actually, I tried to join several, but it never really panned out. But maybe it changed now. As for like finding actual groups, like numbers of people who are helping, I usually have more success looking for hashtags.
Neat. Okay, I will go to Lindsay and then I'll go to Devon. So Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in several groups on LinkedIn and I'll post there when it's relevant. And it's interesting because what LinkedIn does is when I have a post that feels like it fits into a group, the LinkedIn algorithm will suggest that I post to that particular group. So I think that's interesting. I also, I do get some unsolicited, DMs from the groups. It's funny because I'm like in a lot of health and wellness groups because that's my client audience. And I'll get people dinging me thinking I'm a health and wellness professional. And it's like, wait, did you even look at my profile? But on the other hand, there's a lot of useful information there. I think it's also good for research, for understanding your audience, looking at what they're posting and what you can find out more about what their pain points are, what they're interested in. I also have a client who regularly posts to like 30 groups. And I was talking about it because he does them each individually, but he's getting like reactions from his posts that are in the thousands because he keeps posting to the different groups. So I think that's also interesting.
Great, thank you. Devon.
Yeah, I was thinking about Facebook because like I'm usually not on Facebook. I'm mostly on LinkedIn, but I just got on there to, see what groups are there because I've never really got into that. But I was surprised there's actually a few there. I was really looking at like there's stats on there where it's like posts per day. So it'll have like maybe it's 10 plus posts a day. That's usually means that it's more active. 'Cause there's a lot of groups on there, like Patrick mentioned, even on Facebook. That's like just it's probably more Spanish or they're just kind of outdated. And no one posts on there, no one goes on there. So this group so far, it's really active. There's like so many people. It's like every hour pretty much. So it's really cool. But I wonder if LinkedIn does have like similar groups like that, and I'm guessing it does in terms of like art and like a lot of the visual visual design stuff, I guess. I'm still working
Does
on there.
anyone have an answer to that question? Because I do not.
Yeah, you'll find it. There's so much there. I'm sure they do.
You mean like graphic design groups?
Yeah, like well, I guess I've been looking at mostly like concept art stuff, just anything in that realm. But
I mean, Communication
yeah.
Arts has their own group, like from the magazine Communication Arts. So there are a lot of different art groups. There used to be one called Designers Talk, and I went back to go talk about something and like it evaporated. I don't know what happened to it. But as PJ has said, that these groups end up being just spam. Like, look at my logo. I can design a logo for $5. And you're like, what happened here? There's no intelligent, conversation anymore. Some of the other groups that you may want, if you want to pitch your services to, before you join the group, you may have to agree not to spam them with self-advertisements. So it's not the proper place to do it, unfortunately. But you can circumnavigate that and try to connect with as many people as possible, and then just post that stuff right in your own feed about like what it is that you do and how great you are. But LinkedIn used to have really great groups years ago, and then they decided to kill them. In one fell swoop, they decided to be stupid and take away the email notifications. Groups were great. They were now it's like there's no intelligent life out there in the groups, at least what I found.
Does everyone feel a little intimidated when you don't know the people that you're corresponding with? Do you feel a little hesitation to post because there might be a big group and these people are so far removed from somebody you know personally? Does it make you a little self-conscious about what you post and how many times you post?
No.
No?
No,
I'm
just
actually
lay
just
it
the
out there.
opposite. I'm much more comfortable posting to groups that I may know or know people in it than those that I don't know. Maybe it's just an introvert or extrovert type of personality, but I didn't know if anybody else experienced that. Devon, do you have another question, or your hand was just raised from the previous one?
Oh, sorry, let me, I'm on mobile, so this is kind of new to me.
Okay.
I think
So
what's
how
really,
many?
can I just say one thing? I think
Sure.
what's really helpful in posts also is to ask questions, because people generally do respond to them. You know, whether they're questions with polls or they just ask a general question. You could tag people in it as well, put your hashtags in. So I think that's something that can give you a little bit of engagement.
Great
And
point.
if you can belong to a pod, does everybody know what a pod is on LinkedIn? So what a pod is, we have one in the Creatives Roundtable, where you start a message thread. And so every time you put a post on your LinkedIn, there are 3 dots on the end of the post, and you copy those dots and you paste it in the message thread. Then everyone who's in that pod message thread will go in and comment and like on it. So it builds your numbers up. And it can build them up quite a bit. So we did this when they first started doing pods, and we had a lot of traction for people. And we're just getting back into this for the Creators Roundtable. But you know, getting involved with something like that is always very helpful.
One of the things that I've been a member of a couple of pods before, but it's not for me, because I'm required to respond to posts that I don't really want to respond to. Like if I don't agree with what they're saying, or if I think it's not worth the engagement and I don't want to promote it, I still have to because I'm a member of the pod, and so quid pro quo. I don't like that kind of requirement.
Yeah, we've kept all of our people to be in the creative realm so that we're generally just commenting on one another's work or something like that.
So I want to open this session up for 1 second and ask if there's anything specific that you want to know or a question you want to address that we might not have talked about. And just put that out there, and maybe we can address something you may be curious about. Shayla, was that a hand up? Go ahead.
Hi. Okay. So I'll be entirely honest. My own personal LinkedIn, I always was just wondering what do you post? I don't know, how can I guess put myself out there on LinkedIn? Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So
You're a student, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Projects, stuff you're working on, questions about work that you have. You know, stuff that you've done for the AIGA and for your school. You can share it on your own as well because you are producing it.
Anybody else want to share and give Shayla some ideas of what they post?
One of the things that I like to do, and I'm starting to do more of, is when I get on a topic, whether it's like, okay, let's talk about logos. I'll talk about it from a bunch of different angles and make a bunch of different posts about that one thing. So like it might be logos and colors, or it might be logos and a controversial opinion about something about logos, and it might be logos and examples that are used somewhere. And so just a bunch of different ways of talking about one thing. Because sometimes I think I get stuck with, oh, I already talked about that, so I have to talk about something different. But I think you can also take content and look at it from different angles and make new posts about it. So,
and that's a good point, because it builds up your authority on different areas that you want to discuss and talk about. So that's great. That's awesome. Anyone else want to contribute? How many times do you post? Oh, hi, Brian. How many times do you say you post? Do you have a certain amount of hours you dedicate to social media and posting? Do you do a certain amount of days? Do you do it whenever you feel like it? What's your plan of action when you do post?
So I do it twice a week and I do it before 12 noon. But now that I've worked with Lisa Kanda, I'm redoing my strategy. So the post on Tuesday will have a different focus, and the post on Thursday, then once a month, I'm going to be posting a multiple page document that has more information. I like to try to keep my posts or my time that I put into it as brief as possible because I have so much other work to do. But I looked at her strategy and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try at least once a month. If you don't post consistency, you continue to fall further and further away from the algorithm. You could be linked to 1,000 people, but your stuff will never get there. So you have to post consistency. You have to respond to people consistently, repost stuff in order to get in front of it. So that's why I do 2 a week. But I'm going to try her new strategy. She's really good. And hopefully that will, I don't know, maybe people will want to talk to me more.
Which platforms are you posting on?
Just LinkedIn. I gave up on the other stuff. I mean, Facebook I use for my soap operas. That's all I'm talking about on there, and recipes.
You mentioned time. Did she give you a certain time of day that most people look at social media versus others?
So I don't remember what she said. For me, I noticed that people don't post on Monday. People seem to look at my stuff before 12 noon. There are analytics within your profile of, who's looking at what time and when. And if you wanted to go and view and analyze that, that would help promote that. You can don't post on the weekend and so on and so forth. So that's usually what I do is I post Tuesdays and Thursdays before 12 noon, as long as I get that done. That's what I do. And of course, I've been remiss this week.
That's great tips. Anyone else? How about some of you that may, go ahead, Nancy.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I generally post 3 or 4 times a week. But again, I personally am not doing it, so it doesn't take a lot of time out of my day. I mean, I do create the posts. I've designed them, and in Illustrator, I've moved them over to Canva so my VA can work on them. I know you can post natively from Canva. You can also post natively from Adobe Express if you do your work in there. But I let Recur Post set the time that it gets posted. You can do set best time for my location or something like that. And that's what I do with that.
And you're on 3 different platforms?
So for Russo Graphics, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Google My Business, and LinkedIn. For Creators Roundtable, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Yeah. How many of you do like maybe 1 or 2 platforms because it's way too much to do anything else? I usually do 2. Everybody does 2, roughly? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. We are coming up. We got about 5 more minutes. Again, if anybody has any specific questions that were not addressed, I'll ask that again.
I just want to say that Janine has some really good subjects coming up for our happy hours. The next one is April 27th, and it's going to be tips and time-saving tools. We just lost someone. So she does a really good job running these. I am not usually here manipulating the conversation. Hopefully I didn't do that too much today.
No, not at all. I do want to follow up on Nancy's comment, though. The April session is more about, there's April 26th is about Get Organized Day. So we thought we'd use that tips and tricks and tools about how to be better organized with some of the resources we have. So that's why we kind of picked that one, which we thought was kind of a coincidence with that Get Organized Day.
Right.
So Jonathan, you've been pretty quiet. Is there anything specific was this helpful to you?
It was, yeah. I mean, the way I work, it's like, yeah, I post very infrequently. It takes months in between projects, so there's not a whole lot of frequency. So I can see why like posting frequently would definitely like raise you up, the visibility. I don't know. The only thing I can really think of is like, so when I was an in-house art director, quite often I'd want to hire designers, and there'd be like on an ongoing basis, it'd be like, oh, I want to hire that person, and then when I have a project, I may not remember them. So then I try and hire the person I think would be good for a project, but it may not have been the person that I had thought of a couple weeks ago. So it's I can definitely see visibility being a really valuable thing. But yeah, it's a little tough since being in book publishing, things only are they're usually like a 6-month like period from the time I work on it till it gets published. So yeah, frequency isn't like something I can do very easily. And then also
that's a good point. Sometimes we get so busy doing our own work, but even those little tricks like post a testimonial now and then will kind of keep you front and center, and keep your social media a little active. So like Shayla was saying, what do you post? Maybe it's a project that you're working on, and maybe something you solved, or a little tip that you figured out, or there's so much social media stuff we can post, like software that always change, and there's always little tips and tricks that nobody knows about. So little things like that, as you work and you figure out, or you solved a problem, throw it up on social media and share it. Those are those little things that it may not take a lot of time to think about and do, but yet it keeps that activity up front and center, like everybody's been talking about, and trying to keep your name out there.
I think if you also have a problem, it's good to post it up on social media.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people love to solve everybody's problems. So
or like ask the question, like Nancy said earlier, if you don't just to keep you top of mind, just figure out a question and just post it. Those are just little things.
There's been a lot of discussion on the We Love New York logo. Like Twitter is just a buzz about the bastardization of the original I Love New York logo. So, you can talk about anything. I just had a client talk to me about the proper time to use a period at the end of a sentence. And one of my clients is the University of Oxford, and I follow the Oxford rules of punctuation and all that stuff. And so, it's like, well, what do you do? That's just something as a writer you could post about, where do you use punctuation? Do you use it when there's an and? Do you not use it? Just you can come up with anything to talk about.
I say full stop and not period.
Well, when you're doing copy, you can't, when it's in a brochure or something, you're not going to do that. But yeah.
That's a UK versus America thing. The
Right.
Brits say full stop.
Full stop, yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we have come up on the 5 o'clock hour, so I want to thank you all for joining us. I hope you got a little something out of this session. And like I said, if you'd like to join us next month, it's April 27th. And again, it's tips and time-saving tools to get organized. So I appreciate you joining us today, and maybe we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Janine.
Bye-bye. Yep.